I've always loved deck builders and roguelike games, but I've never actually made one myself. I usually join a jam and then either end up making like a 2D platformer or a 2D platformer. This time I wanted to do something different and make my first deck builder and also make it a roguelike. My favorite game in this genre is Slay the Spire, a game where you climb a tower, kill mystery monsters, and it's awesome. So I decided to join the Game Gauntlet X Santa Fe Game Jam with a $1,000 grand prize, because if I'm going to subject myself to a month of stressing over a stupid game, I at least want the prospect of earning some money. The theme for this jam was Agent, which actually fit really well into a few ideas I'd been passing around before the jam, but in the end I decided to go with my favorite idea, the Normie Apocalypse. Now, the Normie Apocalypse, you're probably thinking like, what is that? Like an apocalypse where like normies turn into zombies, maybe? Well, yeah, you got it, it's that, yeah. So you work for an agency who's trying to trim down the zombie population. However, this zombie virus is a little special because it only affects normal people, or normies, like the name, you know? Yeah. Anyways, another game I'd also been playing is a small indie roguelike game on mobile called Luck Be a Landlord, which uses a slot machine instead of cards. It's super unique because each token you add to your slot machine interacts with at least one other token in a fun way. For example, they got a mouse token which eats cheese tokens if you get them next to it. They also have an eldritch beast which will eat cultists if you get them next to each other. Yeah, the game's pretty weird. Did someone say weird? Because I think that's just what I need for my game, the Normie Apocalypse, because if all the normal people are zombies, what do you have left to fight them? That's right, the weirdest motherfuckers you've ever seen. They got eldritch beasts, well I got Kenny, and a weird device that looks a little bit like a butt plug. So yeah, I think we got weird in the bag. Now I like to start my games out with the art first, which I know is a little controversial. Well, I don't give a shit, alright? Because who's about to win $1,000 and who's sitting alone in a dark room watching this video like a dumbass? Sorry, you're not a dumbass. Please subscribe. So I drew 64 of the weirdest cards I could, and also 40 more that I was going to use as relics like in Slay the Spire, but I overscoped and never got to add them in. So yeah, maybe I should have done the code first. But nah, we ball. After I drew the cards, I moved on to the zombies, which I drew as small versions first, and then realized you could barely see them. So I decided to use the small versions as background effect, and make bigger versions as the actual enemies you were going to be fighting. Quick little interjection here, I lost most of the footage that I had taken like while I was making the game, so all of the footage in this video is like of the completed game. So I'll try and help you get a better idea of what it was looking like while I was making it. But yeah, sorry. So this is not what my game looked like at all while I was making this part of it. I also gave the little guys a little dialogue when you click on them, which I thought was a fun little detail. Huh? You said you think it's stupid? You said you think I should never code again? I should... Oh. Yep. After the basic art was done, I gave all 64 of the cards their unique effects. I decided the game was going to rely on 3 basic stats: offense, defense, and morale. Offense would be the damage you do each turn, defense would be how much you reduce the enemy's damage by, and morale was basically your health. Once morale hit 0, you'd be dead because all your guys left or something. I don't know yet. We'll get there. For balancing the card's stats, I obviously took days painstakingly calculating different percentages and value. What? You said we just winged it? We didn't calculate anything. We just wrote random numbers and hoped they worked. Oh, we're terrible game developers. So far, after just playing with the card system for a little while, it was already feeling really good. I'd spent a while on the hand layout and placement of the cards, so seeing it work nicely felt really nice. Now, all I really had to do was make the game playable. Yeah, we're not even close. Now, I really wanted each of the zombies to feel unique in their own fun way, whether by appearance or abilities. I want my game to feel and look very silly while still telling a serious story about the end of the world. It's supposed to give the player a false sense of coziness, and as I further develop the game, I would like to make the zombies less and less silly and more scary looking as you go along. On that note, after the cards were pretty much set up, I gave the zombies their attacks and their health. I had 5 base zombies in the first area, which is all I would finish for the game jam, plus the boss, and we'll talk about him later. So let's get into the zombie breakdown. Zombie breakdown, oh yeah. Up first is the office zombie, a normal office worker who was transformed into a zombie. How sad. He only has 2 most basic moves, which are attack and defend.
pretty boring, but reliable. Next, we have the bulky zombie, which is the strongest out of the 5 in the first area. He charges up his power with an orange attack that does a big block, shielding all of the zombies in play. He also hits like a truck. Beware of this big fella. The third zombie we have here today is the sucker zombie. This guy was just like your everyday drug addict scraping by when the virus took him over, transforming him into a sucker zombie. He can also attack and defend like the office zombie, but has a special move, making the player sluggish, causing them to draw less cards next turn. Scary stuff. The next zombie we have is the head zombie, which is literally a severed head. What happened to his body, we don't know, but they're really mad about it. They can charge up their attacks similar to the bulky zombie, but they can't do much damage by themselves. Too bad they're almost never by themselves. Last but not least, we have the housewife zombie. Your average stay-at-home mother turned green and given a loose eye in the socket. This zombie is one dangerous gal. She can attack like normal, but also gives a nasty status effect, making the player moody, causing them to lose extra morale. See you later on Zombie Breakdown. Alright, so with all that together, the game was really coming together nicely, which was cool, except for the fact that I already used up 2/3 of the time we were given for the jam. In the last week and a half, I had to lock in, turning the game from a prototype into an actually playable demo. In order to do that, I had to actually incorporate the agent theme by adding the agency screen and other related mechanics to the game. Instead of having it as one continuous game where you go from start to finish, I wanted the player to have a little bit more control on how fast they would go, while still keeping constraints on them so that they don't overlevel on the easy zombies. Now, you're probably thinking, that's cool and all, but how do you decide when you want to go back and end the day? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that's why I added the quota system. Yay, another system with stats you have to worry about. Anyways, the quota would increase each day starting around 50, and it's measured in XP, which you get from killing zombies. Once you kill enough zombies, you can go back to the camp with the little menu system I added. Nice. And it'll give you your stats and the quota for day 2. With the XP system, you can also add new cards to your previously boring starting deck every time this neat little purple bar in the top left fills up. You also get 3 cards to add to your deck whenever you start a run on day 1. In between days, you can also choose a card to get rid of from your deck so that you can get more cards you like and less of the cardboard boxes. With all this being added, the game was actually really starting to come together. I was super happy with how it was turning out. I tested it with some of my friends, and they had no idea what the fuck was happening. They said they liked the game once I explained all of the details to them, but there was just currently no way in the game to learn how it worked, so I whipped up a little tutorial that takes you through it on your first time, and a lot more details on all of the effects. I'll blast through all of the little polishing details I added near the end, because with a lot of small stuff, it's really nothing major to talk about. I added stat pop-ups on all of the cards. I added pop-ups telling you the type of card it was and whether it was consumable or not, which a good bit of the items were, meaning one-time use, and then they get permanently destroyed. I added pop-ups on all of the cards for their rarity, which determined how often they would appear in the card selection screen, and I added a lot of pop-ups for things like losing health, player cards, and nighttime descending. After all of this, the game was really received a lot better by my friends, although it was still a bit of a learning curve to start. I think that's just how it's going to be though, because card games in general just take a lot of thinking to learn and get used to. Alright, it seems like my games are pretty cool and ready. I don't think there's anything left I really have to add. Right, the boss fight. Nah, in all honesty, the boss only took me like a few days to draw, code, and polish. Probably like 2. It was just like any other zombie, but more health and attacks. The boss is the Butcher, and I was really happy with his design. He summons headless zombies, revealing that he was the one making all the head zombies you've been fighting earlier. Wow, it's like it's all coming together, huh? With everything now pretty much working and the game jam coming to an end, I threw on a demo end screen after beating the boss and submitted it. So you're probably wondering how I did in the jam, and the answer is, it did alright, at least in the first phase. The round was community voted in the first round, which means the other people in the jam were the ones voting on the games. That's how they usually go. Usually they don't get judges involved. This one was a little different. I hadn't even expected to get in the top 5 in the community section of the jam because of how my game wasn't really intuitive at all. But I ended up coming in 4th place, which I was really happy with. However, this jam was a little bit special, so instead of just using the votes from the community section for the placements, The host Cosmic Forces took the top 5 finalists and 2 runner-ups and had them demo the games for Jason, who was the judge. So the day after my 4th place results got announced, I hopped into Discord with the other finalists and we demoed our games. We got awesome feedback from Jason and a close-up from all the other games in the top 7, which was really cool. So now, with all that said and done, did the Normie Apocalypse, a silly deck builder about zombies, have what it takes to take home the first place prize? Well, the answer is, hell yeah it did. The results were announced the day after the demos were done, and I was genuinely blown away. I hadn't expected to place even in the top 3, let alone first, because I'd gotten 4th in the first section. But they seemed to really have liked where I was taking the game, which was awesome, and thought it had a lot of potential, which I do too, so it's really cool. I'm definitely going to keep working on the Normie Apocalypse. You can wishlist it now on Steam. I'm thinking it's going to come out in probably a few months or so. So yeah, stay tuned for that. You can play the demo on itch. It's still up from the Game Jam. Go to Milk Soup Apple on itch.io. You can play it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said a couple seconds ago, if you want to go play it, it's on itch. Wishlist it on Steam. It really helps. Stay tuned for when I release it. I'll try and get the demo up on Steam too soon, probably. So yeah, peace. I don't know. Yeah. Video's over. Yeah, that's it.